Hola, 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 Bafetu. Welcome back. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Dividend Football Channel. Kaizer Chiefs Football Channel, football from the fans' perspective. Today we're discussing a player transfers. Transfer rumors are always there. We're discussing Sipho Mbule. So there's a developing story around Sipho Mbule and Kaizer Chiefs. I think it is worth our attention, worth discussing. And I think I'll have my views and then I would appreciate to hear your views. But before we get into that, Jabulo Ngowe has apologized. Then Kaizer Chiefs has issued an apology, formal apology from him, that he regrets the events of the day we played at Princess Magogo Stadium against Golden Arrows. We ended up losing the game 2-1, and there was something happened that I think is blown out of proportion. He's substituted after a series of mistakes. After he had, in fact, committed the mistake that cost the team a goal, and then he was a bit shaky, and he was substituted. And in his way out, he couldn't, touch the coach's hands or shake the coach's hand as it is expected, and there was the whole thing, whole drama. Lee Baxter went to grab him, and there was a lot of things around it, and a lot of opinions about it. The media and Kaizer Chiefs fans, some I think they're just being toxic. To be honest, already people are insulting him, calling for his sanctions, for him to be out of Kaizer Chiefs. A lot of things, but you can see that some of these people that are speaking are not really Kaizer Chiefs, supporters. They might be fans, they might be attracted to the history of Kaizer Chiefs, or they might have joined Kaizer Chiefs when it was nice, it was good, and the team was winning, and now that the team is struggling, they are struggling to support the team. They don't know what it means to be a supporter. All they do now is to insult, say a lot of bullshit, say a lot of toxic stuff about players of Kaizer Chiefs, drag them. Not only Unjabulo Ngowe, a lot of players that I follow on Twitter, I see that this space is just toxic. There is no support here. We don't have supporters. Some of, in fact, many of these guys are just fans of the club when it's doing well. They are not supporters of the club when it's doing is in a rough patch. And I'm glad that he apologized. I'm also happy with how Athazwan handled it. He did say that it is not an abnormal thing, it's not a bad thing in football. It happens. Him as a player, he knows it, he has experienced it. It happens when the player is substituted, especially after mistakes. It doesn't feel good. And would be worried. Somebody raised this, and I was happy when they raised that. Would be worried if Njabulong Ngobe is substituted, is happy, is showing a straight face, smiles, and all that. After that, I'm actually happy that it showed that he's concerned. He was angry at himself. He's not happy with what is happening, and is disappointed at the performance. And then yes, he was kind of having a good performance throughout the game. And you have players that commit mistakes. They don't feel anything. They just move on as if life goes on. That is the kind of spirit that we want. Is that if a mistake is committed, somebody must show some kind of frustrations and regret if possible. And yeah, man, I'm willing to accept the apology, and I hope, in fact, I know the true fans of Kaizer Chiefs have already accepted the apology in the very first place, and even before it was issued. And Lee Baxter shouldn't have exacerbated the matter. Don't want to drag it much. The story of Sipho Mbule, we know the boy was wanted by Mamelodi Sundowns, and Sundowns actually wanted to sign him and Debza Mokoena at the same time, and something didn't go right. I don't know what went wrong, but it seems like Mbule didn't want to sign for Mamelodi Sundowns, and he was clear that he wanted. There's a certain team that he wants to join, that is interested in him. He's interested in making that move instead of the move to Mamelodi Sundowns. Probably gonna sit on the bench, wait for Tembazwane, Serino, and other players to retire before you can have your game time. And it's a decision that he took as a player. I think he shouldn't be blamed for it. But from then, you could see also SuperSport wanted to sell him to Mamelodi Sundowns. Maybe Sundowns was willing to pay exorbitant prices, but you could see that SuperSport wants him to go to Mamelodi Sundowns. Doesn't want him to go to a certain team, and the pattern is there, and we don't need to repeat the same thing that we've always said that there's a pattern of clubs willing to sell only to a certain team, and as long as they get money and all that, they don't want other teams to kind of get the players and improve their game, and this is clear. And the boy refused. Since he had refused, then we started having problems. He invited a lot of problems. Stanley Matthews says, goes as the CEO of the club goes in public, says, "Oh, the boy is overweight. He's not good physically. That's why he's not playing and stuff like that." In the first place, I don't know why a CEO and a manager of the club goes around explaining why the player is not playing. I'll be very surprised seeing Motaung or any one of the Mutsepes or Kaizer going around explaining, or Ivan Cos explaining why a certain player is not playing in the club, and why not the coach speaking on that. I mean, we have a coach, we have technical director, we have you have a lot of people in the team that can do that job and explain. In fact, they don't even have to explain in the first place. The coach is supposed to explain that if it is asked, if it is so important to respond on it. Says, yeah, you can see that the player is being punished, to be honest. He says he's overweight, can't play. And then he's brought back Kaitan, even against Kaitano Tembo's will, the player was frozen. And then Kaitano decides to play him just a few minutes. I think played one game, few minutes, and you could see that he's good. There's nothing wrong with this guy. He's good. In his game time, he's gonna be okay. And we know he's been the pillar of Super Sport. He's been one of the senior players at a very young age. He's one of the senior players in Super Sport. Then boom, big news. He's suspended because he disrespected his teammates. You can see Uti Norman, the boy is being punished. You can see that the boy is being punished. There's something that is not happening, that is not, he's refusing that should happen, and is punished for that. And he's left with with few months with Supersport, but with an option for Supersport to extend. And Supersport wanted to sell him, and then Mike came out and announced that he's going to sign an extension. They're going to have a meeting with Supersport. That didn't happen. The move to Mamelodi Sundowns didn't happen. Even when Mike came out, I think a few months back, after the whole saga of overweight, Mike Makaab came out and said, the player is going to go to Sundowns anyway. It looks like Sundowns is the one that's willing and all that. You could see a lot of people were rightfully, questioning that. Looks like Mike Makaab is sending the player and is selling the player's soul to Mamelodi Sundowns, even against his will. But yeah, since he's been suspended, a lot of things have happened. And now, I think 4 days back, there's an interview at Gagasi FM. Mike Makaab always goes to Gagasi FM and is asked about the player. He says, yeah, he's will move from KZN, he's going to go to Johannesburg. He has had conversations with Motaung and Kaizer Jr. about the player, and he's going to go to Joburg. He's going to have more discussions about the player. He's going to have to meet Stanley Matthews, and yeah, for sure, he's sure that the player will resume his playing next season with a new team. But he's going to have a conversation with the Kaizer Chiefs management and says there's a lot of things to discuss. And I would go through what he said here, but I think time is not on our side. But it says we've had a very brief discussion with Chiefs officials Bobby and Kaizer Jr. and I'm probably going to make my way to Johannesburg next week to discuss the player's future. I'm spending a few days there because we have got some very important meetings. I've set up a meeting with Stan Matthews regarding the future of Sipho Mbule. Says there's no doubt in my mind that come pre-season Sipho will be ready to fight for a place in his new team. He's certainly not going to be sitting in the stands for 2 years. So yeah, it also explains that the player is in a program with psychologists and a physical trainer. So that is what is happening right now. I think the move away from Supersport towards Kaizer Chiefs is on the wheels, but it might not happen. To be honest, you know how these things are, and I'm happy that Mike Makaab is coming to Joburg and is coming to he's gonna go to Pretoria as well to meet with the management of Supersport, because it must not be a clumsy way, especially if the player is going to move from Supersport to Kaizer Chiefs, when it's especially Kaizer Chiefs, because there's this thing of Sitebe and this and this and this. There's a lot of controversy around managers, team CEOs, club owners refusing their players moves to Kaizer Chiefs, and willing to go as far as destroying their players, footballing career, just to prevent them from going to Kaizer Chiefs. We know these things have been happening. Papizo Tane spoke about it when he was forced to go to Mamelodi Sundowns, when he was removed from going when he was stopped from going to Kaizer Chiefs. A lot of examples like that. And Mike has to protect the player. Needs to have proper discussions. Needs to facilitate. If this has to happen, it has to be done the right way. I know already. I mean, there's a lot that has the wrong that has already transpired, but it needs to be done the right way. If it doesn't, end up at Kaizer Chiefs, not on my side, I'll be fine. Still be fine. I think we can still work on something. There's many players. There'll still be many players that will be produced. But I'm happy that Kaizer Motaung Jr. came out in public and was speaking with us on Twitter, in the spaces that he said he is the player that we want. But if the club is willing to sell, then you can buy. If they are not willing to sell, there's nothing Kaizer Chiefs can do. There's always a deal, comprises of two parties, and we can't conclude a deal on our own. But on my side, very excited about the news. I want the player to come to Kaizer Chiefs. We know the quality that he possesses. We know he can make a lot of difference in that team. He can improve the team, and he can improve himself because he's still very young. He's still in the same age group with many of the development graduates, academic graduates of Kaizer Chiefs. So, yeah, man, that's my view. I'm hoping that the situation gets resolved the amicable way for the sake of the player as well. I think the most important person here around the whole thing is the player, because he needs to provide for himself. He has the talent. He needs to grow the talent. He needs to edify, make important contributions to his family, and football as a career. It needs his things must go right. His things must go right. Contracts and everything must go the right way. That's it from me. I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts around this developing story? Also around the Unjabulo Ngobo. Otherwise, Dibaland Football Channel, Kaizer Chiefs Football Channel, football from the fans' perspective. I'm signing out.